Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about a warning from a billionaire to everybody. Ray Dalio. That's a name you might not be familiar with, but he's one of the wealthiest men in the country. He founded Bridgewater Associates, which is an asset management firm that you've probably never heard of. But the last time I saw their numbers, Bridgewater had about $150 billion under their management. They're not a small player. Think about why you hear about firms like that if you aren't in finance. They messed up, right? I could list a dozen firms that nobody's ever heard of because they avoid being at the center of financial meltdowns. Most people become familiar with companies like this because of the 2008 crash. Even though Bridgewater has been around since the 1970s, they're not exactly a household name because they didn't mess up in 2008. In fact, Dalio warned it was coming. In 2007, the firm warned of embedded risks and a, quote, cracking of the financial system. I'm pretty sure Dalio actually tried to warn the White House at the time and met with Treasury Department officials. While most of the financial world was in dire straits, Bridgewater's Pure Alpha Fund rose almost 10%. I'm obviously not doing an ad for Bridgewater, so why am I telling you all this? Because Dalio is sounding the alarm again. He was on Meet the Press, and I'd imagine the quote that will be in all the headlines on Monday will be, quote, I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. He explained, quote, we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. He then talked about the rise of a new power that challenges the existing one. Dalio seems to believe the biggest issue is Congress being unwilling to manage the debt. Trying to hide the trillions in debt from Trump's tax cuts won't help. He stressed that Congress should reduce the deficit to 3% of the GDP and said, quote, if they don't, we're going to have a supply-demand problem for debt at the same time as we have these other problems. And the results of that will be worse than a normal recession. Worse than a normal recession is bad enough. But that wasn't the end of his concerns. When asked about his fears, he said, quote, the value of money, internal conflict that is not the normal democracy as we know it, an international conflict in a way that is highly disruptive to the world economy and could even be a military conflict. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.